Welcome to Prepare For Takeoff. I'm the creator and host, Terry L. Cyrus. We're the podcast dedicated to amplifying Black excellence. Every week, we sit down with a proven professional or a rising entrepreneur. This week, we're sitting down with Kelvin Troy Johnson. Kelvin, what's going on, Q?
What's happening with you, my brother? Good to be here with you.
Likewise. I know you are from Jersey, but
Yes.
you in the ATL. When people live in the A, I don't even ask them how do they like it. Everybody seems to love it down there.
Pretty much. Yes.
That seems to be like a
yes.
rhetorical question at this point.
Yes, sir. It's the land of promise out here. If you can get past the traffic, everything else is golden.
Everything else is Gucci.
Yes.
Talk to me about growing up in Jersey. Where was that at, and what was your movement like as a shorty?
I'm the son, the baby boy of a pastor and his wife. So I grew up as a PK in Jersey, in Atlantic City, right down there, 8 blocks from the beach. We never went to the beach because that's for the tourists, you know. And so I grew up as a son of a Pentecostal minister. It was made plain to us that you're going to be here for the next 18 years. So you might as well do something. So me and all my brothers learned to play drums. We learned to play keyboards, piano. And fortunately, that actually led to me getting a scholarship going off to Norfolk State University in Norfolk, Virginia, and being on the drum line and end up on a scholarship on the drum line. So that's kind of the way it unfolded. South Jersey was a great place to grow up back in those days.
I've spent some time in Atlantic City in my day. Haven't been there in some time now. I don't know, it's changed a lot, to say the least.
Yes.
So what was it like? Were there any kind of challenges or things that you had to navigate, on your ascent through your childhood?
The place we lived was an area called Bungalow Park. And in Bungalow Park was all like, it was essentially a Black middle class section there. But it was sandwiched between the projects and some other really low income housing. And so that was like the thing. So we had to learn how to walk. Now, I don't know if everybody understands what it means to learn how to walk, but this flat-footed stuff that these boys do today, in my neighborhood, you would have been a walking victim.
You would be a target.
So we had to learn our tough guy walk. You know, one guy would be like, you know, kind of dipping, and I had a kind of more of a tall bouncing walk. I was already a tall guy, but I wanted to appear taller, you know, and so that kind of like kept the neighborhood boys off of us. But we learned resilience. He used to have to fight to get on the jitney every morning and take us all the way to the other side of town, and like it was a great place to like learn the many lessons of life. Having living in a stable household, but outside them doors, you don't know exactly what you're going to face, and that set me up for life. I can tell you that.
I know a lot of people who have had to navigate those circumstances. Not me as much, because I'm from West Virginia, but I did nonetheless have to navigate some of that. You know, when I often tell people I'm from West Virginia, they're surprised. I would dare say that you may be more inclined to be exposed to violence in West Virginia than you are in New Jersey, and here's why. The proximity of it is a lot closer. Because there are no, okay, well, that's the hood, we don't go there. Or we don't go to that section of Newark. So they have their clubs, and then we have our clubs. No, down south is one club.
Yeah, you know, I was just thinking too that some of these things that you go through, they really shape who you are, and sometimes they shape who you are for good or for bad. Either way,
right?
Like there is a shaping that's happening, right? One of the things that I discovered when I got a little older is that tough man walk thing that I just described, right? That same thing becomes what I did. We use that as a defense mechanism. Right. And so it was, I have to perform this way in order to avoid something negative happening. Well, sometimes you take that, and I took some of that into my real life, and I was, find myself in these situations where I was trying to be somebody, trying to be seen as somebody, as opposed to just being the somebody that I was.
Right.
You understand? So you putting on all these masks, and that's like a mask of masculinity.
Right.
I can be the bigger this, or I can you can't beat me, or like putting yourself in these situations that's just unnecessary. And it cause you some people end up in prison, some people end up even shot or dead, or all these things, trying to prove that there's somebody instead of just being somebody.
So you went to Norfolk State, and shout out to
Yes.
Norfolk State.
Folks,
My cousin,
behold the
behold,
green and
the
gold.
green and gold. I
Yes,
know
sir.
plenty of people. My cousin, he went there. He's the bruz. I know
Okay.
many of his chapter bruz.
Yeah, Pi
Then-
Gamma.
Pi Gamma. Shout out to the Pi
Yeah.
Gamma Qs. And my neighbor, she pledged Delta there.
Okay.
And another friend from back home, she pledged there as well. So there was a lot of people that was making that trip to
Yeah.
Norfolk State. I had another cousin who went there and then transferred. But I guess once you went to Norfolk State, and I'm sure that's another rhetorical question, how did you enjoy that?
Man, well, you know, I barely got through in the first year because it was the land of milk and honeys, we used to call it.
Right.
Never had we seen this many African American people in one place doing something positive, like going after education on purpose. Like, you know, even in the schools, all of our schools are all mixed. You know, everywhere I came from, you know, there was either all white or, you know, all mixed. But to come to an HBCU and have the HBCU experience is it's like nothing else ever experienced, and I'm so grateful for it. What you hear people talking about is true. You know, having the professors to actually like get in your face, you know, and they're not letting you slide because they know what happens if you slide. You're another black man who's slippery. You know, and you can't come through here and be slippery. If you here, you need to leave here and be of the educated. You know, that's what they tell you once you get across that stage. When you switch that tassel over, you are now of the educated. You know, and that means something deeper. I feel like at the HBCU.
The same held true for my school, man. My school's a lot smaller than Norfolk State. It's the HBCU nonetheless, and those faculty members, they had that same mindset and they poured into you. Like I would say at my school, we used to always joke and say, it's easy to get in, but it's hard to get out.
Hard to get out. I believe that, buddy. I believe that.
Because you represent so many people who went there before you. People like Katherine Johnson, and the power of media, and realizing despite how close I grew up to the school, having not even been told that story until the movie Hidden Figures came out. So that shows you, to your earlier point, the power of media and being able to share stories, whether it's yours or someone else's. I didn't know her story.
Yeah.
But I will say nonetheless, when you feel as though you're a part of something bigger than you, whether that's the HBCU community or whether that's our beloved fraternity, then you move different, you walk different, because you know you don't just represent you. You represent people that you don't want to let down.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
And I think that we share that in common. Now you're at Norfolk State, you graduate, you turn your tassel, and you become a part of the educated. Now, was there a thought to stay in Norfolk, or did you come right back to Jersey?
No, you know, I said I was going to stay in Norfolk. I didn't want to come back to Jersey. And I was encouraged, and they encouraged you. They say, listen, the worst thing you could do is graduate from here and go back home. Because home is what you left, and it's not going to be what you have gotten here. You know, you can go back home, but don't go right back home. I ended up actually staying in Virginia for a total of 11 years.
Oh, okay.
And, so I got into my first jobs there and got into all the things while I was there in Norfolk, Virginia.
So now what career path, because I want to make sure that we can privy our audience to your career path, your areas of discipline, but what career path did you find yourself taking when you graduated?
Yeah, so being a PK, I knew that I was created to be in service of people. Okay, so I didn't know exactly what that was going to mean, but when I got finished, I was able to get a job doing in-home counseling. I was able to work under a LCSW who had the licensing, and you had to just go and get the training. And I did what they call hand-to-hand combat when you go to people's houses to do counseling, it's a lot different from people coming to an office. You know, people can tap dance for a 40-minute session in an office, but you can't tap dance when you go to their house.
Right.
And I can remember one of my very first cases was in the projects of Norfolk. And for whatever reason, it was starting to get dark. And, it was getting dusk outside. And listen, them projects are nothing to play with, okay?
That's my time.
Yes. Look, so I remember going to knock on the door to meet the family that I was going to be working with. And I went to go knock on the door, and I heard a loud voice say, "I hate you. I hate you." I was like this. My hand was back to knock on the door. "I hate you." I was like, "I just got here.
Right.
You hate me? What
Right.
you hate me for?" But, she wasn't talking to me, obviously. She's talking to somebody inside. So I quietly knocked on the door. She opened the door, and I was there to work with her and son. Now, what they did was they sent me out to hold the placement because the boy was just coming back from a juvenile detention. And their idea was, if we can bring counseling to the home, then we can save this boy from ending up in prison.
Right.
And help them to reunite, and so he had just came home, and he's in an argument with his mama, and she's saying, "I hate you. I hate you." I was like, oh, snap. Well, what is this all about? So essentially what I discovered is that her anger for him came because he looked just like his father.
I knew that.
He saw that coming.
I seen that coming.
His father threw her down the steps when she was pregnant. She was 9 months pregnant, and he threw her down the steps hoping to get rid of this baby. And so she's got all this anger and then now he's in prison. I don't know what he's in prison for, but he's in prison. So now she's alone. She was kind of alone to raise this baby. And now he's a street kid. And so it was just when he got there and they got into that argument, and she saw, all she could see was the eyes of the boy's father.
Right.
And that was where her anger was coming from. And
that was her trigger.
That was her trigger. And so through our time of working together, she was able to see that that's what her trigger was, and that he didn't deserve what he was receiving from her in that kind of way. And so that one opportunity began to kind of shape my thoughts about how people get to where they are. I mean, I went into psychology just for the reason of trying to understand, why do people do the things they do? Listen, I haven't come up with an answer yet, but I'm still studying it. I'm still interested to understand why people do what they do. I'm insatiably curious in this way. And so that kind of led me in that path on the working through the social work and working with men in the church, men in the fraternity, always working with men. And that's where my career lasted.
So then at some point, once you did all of this phenomenal work with the brothers, you started working with some of the sisters. So what led to that transition, and what did that work consist of?
So that work was me going out. I wanted to do the motivational speaker route. I loved Les Brown. My father had Les Brown tapes since I was a kid, and I listened to those tapes, and I heard it, and I said, man, you know what? I would love to be a motivational speaker.
That's my calling.
That's my calling, and I got out and began to do it. This is funny. When I said I wanted to be a motivational speaker, I actually went to the library and found a book, and the book was how to become a motivational speaker. There was actually this book in the library, and it had all of many of the big experts from the 50s and the 60s. I didn't even know there was such a thing back then, but there's the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. So some of the advice he gave was, if you want to be a speaker, find a place to speak every single day. They said, I don't care if it's a youth, I don't care if you go speak to kindergartners. I don't care if you talk to, people, field workers. Have a place that you can speak to people every single day to develop your speaking talent.
Right.
Okay. So I go to apply for this job at the rescue mission. It would work with the men's ministry as a men's ministry counselor. And the guy says, And one more thing before you say yes to this job. You are going to have to stand up and talk in front of a group of people in the cafeteria every single day. You're going to have to perform chapel service. It was called chapel service, but it's in your hands to do something, to talk it up in front of these people. And so I was like, boom, that's it. That's my way in. And so I began to do the motivational speaker route that way.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was doing that, I started going out doing it at schools and at churches and at other places. And a funny thing happened. Women started coming saying, like, I'm listening to you talk about all these experiences and how men think and what men do and all these things. What about this guy? This guy standing right here. Does he really love me?
Mm-hmm.
Another lady says, does he really see me in his future? How do I know if a man sees me in his future? How do I avoid wasting time if he doesn't? Like,
right.
all of these questions. And I was like, but look, since I worked with men and I worked at the rescue mission for 5 years, and I don't know if you understand what the rescue mission is, but it's part homeless shelter and part recovery house with a spiritual covering, right?
Okay.
Like spiritual icing, okay? And I'm talking about, like, you show up there in the morning and the people are surrounding your car because they're waiting for you to come in and do something for them, like help them get some services or whatever. They've been sitting all night waiting for you to come in the door. And so here you come, and I walk in the door and there's a line of people behind me waiting to be helped.
Mr. Kelvin, Mr. Kelvin.
Yes, yeah. Chaplain Kelvin. I was right. Chaplain Kelvin, Chap Cal, and but look, and this even going back to our other point of how the things you experience prepare you for the future. I didn't know that it would prepare me even to start working with, even on the women's side, and helping them to understand how men think. And so when I moved here to Atlanta, that's when I began doing dating and relationship coaching. Even although I'm still doing life coaching, I also do dating and relationship coaching.
Atlanta's the place to be a life coach or a dating coach. From what I've been told, dating can be difficult because these sisters, they can seek a profession. They can seek where they want to live. They can seek what it is they want to have as far as possessions, car, jewelry, whatever.
Yes.
But the one thing they can't seek is a man.
Can't seek a man.
A man has to choose you. Now, do you think that's one of the biggest components as to why so many women who are doing phenomenal things professionally find themselves personally coming up short as it pertains to their dating life?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I know many women, like we talk about women making six figures. I know women, they're making in the middle of six figures, not down there at the low end. No, they're making $400,000, $500,000 a year. They're making these salaries, and so when your money's right, especially in a place like Atlanta, you can do whatever you want. Okay, you can do whatever you want, and so they did the thing. They did the thing their mama told them. They said, "Go get a job. Go get your education." They did that. Go get your job. Get a house. Get a car. Find the thing that you love. Get into the things you love, and a man will come along. Well, for a lot of them, they did all the other things, which were all seeking things that they can go after, things that they can obtain. They can climb the ladder. But that's not the way romance happens. They thought, oh, it's just going to happen. It's just all going to fall in place. But they discovered that no, it doesn't all just fall in place. You have to position yourself to be chosen by a man who desires you.
Right.
And that's a totally different energy than the go after it energy.
Because if you go after a man, that's the surest way to turn him off.
Yes, that's a
man
fact.
wants to pick you. But more importantly, if it doesn't turn him off, then he may develop a mindset of like, okay, she likes me.
Yeah.
So since she likes me, what can I do with her interest in me.
Mm-hmm.
And then therefore I may show up for a period of time, but I'm only here for a season.
Yes, for a good time, not a long time.
Right. And then they find themselves upset because they've wasted all this time with this person. But what they have to realize and understand, as you mentioned, just because you are in full control of what your destiny looks like professionally is way different as it pertains to your personal. And I think a lot of times people feel like, well, if it works like this on this side of the room, it should work the same on that side of the room.
No,
it's night and day
absolutely
different.
Doesn't. It absolutely is night and day.
It's two different languages.
It really is. It really is. And what you just described is the new way, right? The whole go after it and women can have it however they want and all that, get the bacon, fry the bacon, all that old thing. That's all the new way. But you know what the old way is? A man reaching out his hand to you and saying, "Will you marry me?"
Right.
That right there is hundreds of years old.
Right.
Okay. That happened. That's the way that part of the courtship, that part of our society has not changed in hundreds of years.
That's true.
So, and it's not going to.
Right.
So a woman has to position herself to be desirable to that guy. And listen, I know there's some women who are sitting there like, this sucks. How come I have to? Well, listen, you're gonna have to change that tune,
that mindset,
and that mindset. And if you want a certain thing, you have to figure out, just like you figured out how to get that job and how to get that money, you have to figure out how to position yourself as someone that a man, as a woman, we often say that be the woman a man needs, not a woman who needs a man.
You have to make yourself irreplaceable, man. You have to show up as a partner. I think a lot of times women show up and they show up and they're a bit reluctant. They're bringing the wrong energy to the table, and they're bringing whatever they've been through to the table. You shouldn't expect another man to carry someone else's bags.
It's a fact.
You have to show up free and clear. Nobody wants to pay someone else's tab.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
They need to sit down and talk to you and kind of flush all that out and then take responsibility. What part am I playing? I think relationships, regardless of whether they're professional or personal, it's a dynamic. What part am I playing in this dynamic that's leading me down this path?
Yes. And what you just talked about was self-accountability.
Right.
It's one of the most challenging things for some of our sisters to just be accountable for, how things go. Like, you always hear this man did this and this man did that. And I always ask, well, who chose the man? Who decided when the man said, "Will you marry me?" Who said yes?
Right.
So, and sometimes you say yes without having all the knowledge. You said yes to the fantasy,
right?
But you didn't say
idea.
yes to the You didn't say yes to the reality because you didn't know the reality. And so, people often ask me, like, what do you think about all these podcasts and all these things? This red pill stuff and hypergamy and all these new terms and all these new things. I say I love it. Like, I love all of these podcasts, even the ones who ain't talking about nothing. I love all of these because for most of human time, there was no public forum where people had conversation about relationships and their ups, their downs, their opinions. So I love it all. I love hearing what the red pill guys got to say. I don't have to agree with everything, but it's their truth. The no fap guys, the game guys, like, I love it because they're actually making a decision for what it is they want on a conscious level, as opposed to just floating downhill on society's definition of what should be.
I think it's imperative that women and men, we be as intentional in what it is we want professionally as what it is we want personally. And we may have to go about it different. A woman can't debo a man into being in a relationship.
Can't
He's
do it.
not going to respond to that. And if he does, you're not going to want him because he's going to be a beta brother. There are
Right.
those brothers that exist. But at some point, she's not going to want him because she's going to complain about how she needs a man. Well, a man is not going to respond to mannish energy.
Yes.
He's going to respond to energy that's opposite of his. He's going to respond to femininity. He's going to respond to somebody who's willing to be vulnerable. He's going to respond to someone who's willing to nurture.
Yes.
He's not going to respond to a mirror image of himself. He doesn't want him. He wants somebody who compliments him.
That's a fact.
And you hear women saying, well, if he can do it, why can't I do it? And like, okay, I can wear my hair this way because men wear their hair this way. I'm not dyeing my hair. Men don't dye their hair. Well, listen, you have to ask yourself, what are the societal norms? Now, if you want to say that you're going to be a nonconformist, well, that comes with something.
It's a fact.
If you want to conform, then chances are you're going to probably get to your destination a lot quicker because you're swimming with the stream.
That's a fact.
If you want to be a nonconformist, you're swimming against the stream.
That's
and
a
I'm
fact.
not saying you may get somewhere all completely different, but it's going to be a tough swim.
Yeah. No, that's a fact. You know, there's three things that I believe is going to get you the satisfaction that you actually want, right? There's three things that I want to focus in on. One is clarity, right? Being clear on what it is you want. Many people don't get what they want because they're not clear on what it is they want. You know, they're not clear with themselves on what they want. And then they also can't articulate what it is that they want to someone else. Like they you know, what makes you happy? What makes you sad? What gives you joy? What breaks your heart? You know, some of these things many people are unclear on and never really sat down and thought about what that is. And so if you haven't thought about it, how can you expect the other person to give it to you?
You know,
right?
You know what I say, bruh? I say we expect our children when we ask them a question to be able to answer it. But many times we can't answer questions that we should be able to answer.
That's a fact.
Whether it's what do you want in a man? What do you want in a woman? Or what are you passionate about? What wakes you up in the morning? And those are questions as simplistic as they may sound. Many people can't answer them, but they want you to help them figure out what it is they don't know.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. And you know, the other thing is communication. My second call it second C is communication. Like not only being clear on what you want, but it's your ability to articulate it. Right? A grandma used to say, it's not what you say, baby, it's how you say it. You know, sometimes you can't get what you want because you don't know how to say it.
Right.
You know, sometimes guys, we just don't talk, right? We use our silence to say everything we want to say and let her figure it out in between. And but for us, sometimes if you want to have a better relationship, you have to learn how to communicate. Now, look, on a natural level, our communication, they say women speak like 60,000 words a day and men are something like, 10,000.
Right.
Like we way under, and so and I have even been guilty of this myself. I had to learn to over communicate. And look, my over communication is still just like getting,
you still coming up halfway.
Yes, sir. I mean, and I'm doing it on purpose to force it out there, force myself to say, to be specific about the thing that I want and all the things, and as well as to listen. A big part of communicating is listening. What did they say?
Right.
Okay. I get this one all the time. A lady be like, the guy, we've been going out for a while but all of a sudden he stopped calling me and he's not taking me out and he's not. And I asked, is he your man? Is this guy your man? Well, we go out on Friday nights and he comes over and we get intimate and all of this and he can have it whenever he wants and this. Is he your man?
Right.
Yes or no? And then she says, well, he never, no, he's not.
Right.
Okay, so that tells me why things are what they are.
Right.
Because you're unclear and there's lack of communication going on. You know?
Mhm.
And so when people don't communicate, you get what you get.
Thinking about starting your own business? Make it real with Shopify, the all-in-one platform trusted by millions to sell online and in person. Whether it's merch, art, or digital goods, Shopify gives you the tools to build, grow, and succeed. And here's the best part. When you sign up using the affiliate link in our show notes, you're supporting Prepare For Takeoff and starting your business off right. Click the link and start your free trial today. You can't be mad if you're hoping for something that isn't being delivered. I can hope for whatever I want, but what do I actually have?
Yes, that's a fact. That's where miscommunication comes into place, where you were thinking one thing and I was thinking another.
Right, right.
All conflict generally comes down to that one issue, that you were thinking one thing and I was thinking another.
What is the most asked question you get from women that you sit down with as it relates to the challenges they find at being single, or the challenges they find of being a woman of a certain age, or a woman of a certain tax bracket? What are some common questions that you're asked? I'm sure our viewers and listeners would love to know.
So I talk to a lot of people here in Atlanta. So some of this is going to be regional.
Okay.
Okay. Some of these answers are going to be regional. I get, where are the men? What happened to the men? They go out to these brunch spots. They got 100 brunch spots out here, and there's like there's 200 women in the room and 5 guys. They go out to the restaurants, they go to the bar, they go to these places, and the men who show up are not pursuing. That's the other question. How come men don't pursue like they used to? How come men don't talk to me? Well, how come they're not engaging me? I'm beautiful, I'm successful, but they don't see me. I heard something even today. The lady says, I decided to be adventurous, and I saw a man I liked, and I sent him a drink. Okay. Or told the bartender, hey, give that guy something that he wants. And he ordered something expensive, old fashioned or something. And I think our stipulation was something like, I want it to happen naturally. I want our eyes to meet. Told the bartender, don't tell him who it came from. She wanted the feeling to happen naturally. So she wanted him to be looking around the bar and then have their eyes catch and like and him come on over and it began a romance. Well, he got the drink,
Left.
drank the drink, head down, talking to his homeboys, and never even thought twice, never even looked her way. And so, especially as some of the women who are getting older who did all the right things, they want to know, where is my man? The man that I thought I was going to get after I got all these other things out of the way. So I got questions. I could go on and on, bro, because I get all these questions coming daily.
I think what happens is a lot of women see value as it relates to a man.
Yes.
So I have all the things that if I find this in a man, I would find that appealing. But they don't realize men have a different selection process. I think the mistake that a lot of women make is, I have all the things that would appeal to me. Yeah, but you're not asking yourself, what are the things he's looking for?
That's a fact. And that's the reason that he bypasses you with your 2 master's degrees and high paying job and all the things. And he'll pick up that girl working at the Burger King drive-through window. You know? Now, I know somebody gonna say, that's because that's easy for him. No, she's easy to him.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just because she's easy for him to get. It's easy because she makes his life easier.
Right.
Because of who she is and how she treats him.
You can prepare yourself for that person to in turn pick you, because I will say, I'm speaking on behalf of many of brothers. Brothers have the same frustration. Where's the good women? Where's this? Where's that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a lot more we can accomplish together, independent of one another.
We need each other.
We need
each other.
We need each other.
Listen, these lights that are on in my face right now, there's only one reason you can see me. This room is completely dark except for the little lights in the back, right? This is the only light on in this room. If I unplug that light, you wouldn't even be able to see me, right? And the only reason why this light works is because there is a receptacle and there is a lamp that has the potential to give off light. This lamp will not give off light if it is not plugged up. Women have a natural receptor. They have a receptor spirit, and they are biologically created to receive. Okay, they're biologically created to plug in and magnify that which is plugged in. Okay, so if you plug in and you go in the way it's supposed to be designed, boom, plug in, bam, we get light. Now, what happens if you decide, I don't need that light. You know what? If this plug is the plug that it should be, it should give me power the way I want the power to be. So I'll stick this pin in there and decide if this was any kind of receptacle, it would give me the power I want. And you stick that pin in there and get electrocuted, and then you're going to be mad because the receptacle didn't operate because it wasn't created to operate with one prong and one piece of metal. It was designed for three prongs for that matter. It was designed so that I could get this light if it's plugged in.
I like that analogy, man, because it's spot on. We have to really understand what our purpose is, what our purpose is in life, what our purpose is as a man. For women, we have to understand what their purpose is. And then we have a purpose to each other. And like you said, that plug, it's expected to produce light as long as it's plugged in properly.
Got to be plugged in properly.
It's got to be plugged in properly. So speaking of plugging in, man, I want to give you the opportunity to plug your book.
Okay.
Talk our viewers and listeners through your book and what led to writing the book and where they can pick it up.
Yes. So this is my book. It's called Secrets of the Mind of a Man: How Men Think When It Comes to Dating, Relationships, and Love. And I kept getting the same questions over and over again, so I decided to put it in the book. Here's a couple of the questions I answer in the book. How do you know if a man sees you in his future? 4 ways to know if a man truly loves you. 5 red flags in men that you absolutely cannot ignore. How to become a man's only choice. So essentially, this is a book for women about men and how men think when it comes to dating, relationships, and love. If you are single, you need this book. And you can get it on either on Amazon as you look up Kelvin Troy Johnson on Amazon. This book will come up, or you can go on my website, which is lovecoachatlanta.com.
So you're basically giving sisters a GPS to a man.
I gave up the game. Gave up the game. Hey, all they got to do is run the play, and it's going to work out for you.
I'm sure that women are loving that. I try to privy my female friends to information that I feel will help them as far as their decision making. I feel as though it's really a matter of people know what they know. And the mistake that a lot of women make is they ask women about men. If you want to know about men, you got to ask a man.
Got to ask a man.
I'm sure you're giving them that game in a manner in which they can digest it, because you don't want somebody to have something that they need, but it's not digestible.
Yes,
I feel as though your information in the book, just with the questions you led with and the answers that you're giving, I'm sure in the book, it makes it very digestible. And nobody's being put on Front Street. They can read it at their leisure.
That's a fact.
And share that with their friends accordingly. So you're doing your part to see to it that we as a people can come together.
Man, listen, I believe in it. I believe that, what's that? The scripture said, we perish for the lack of knowledge. We perish because of what we don't know. We don't know how to love. I had a client one time who told me, he said, Kel, he said, Coach, I have never been loved. And I said, what you mean? Like, you're a grown man. What you mean you never been loved? He said, I've never been loved. I said, you never been in love? He said, no. I've never been loved. Even as a child, I've never been loved. So he came from foster care back in New Jersey, North Jersey, Newark or somewhere like that. And I don't know if y'all remember how foster care was back in the 70s, but people was just collecting a check.
Absolutely.
And he slept downstairs in the dingy, nasty basement on a mattress, and the family treated him like a dog. They just threw bread down the stairs like a dog, and when he was hungry, and just treated terribly. And he said, since he was in the foster care system, maybe, like I said, parents may have been on drugs, or you know what I mean. So he never actually felt love. But by the time I'm talking to him, he's got 3 kids by maybe 2 or 3 different women. And I said, I bet there is a woman somewhere trying to figure out what is wrong with this man. And part of what was wrong with him is he had never been loved. So the woman who comes into his life is actually going to have to teach him how to love. She's going to have to, I know somebody goes, I'm not teaching him nothing. If he don't know, listen, okay, well, this ain't the guy for you, right? But there are certain people who have had certain experiences that have happened in their lives that brought them to where they are. And some of them don't know how to love. How do you know how to love if you've never been loved? We assume people know what love is, but how do you know if you've never actually experienced love? Even in the scripture, it talked about husbands love your wife. Well, how do you know a husband know how to love a wife? How do you know he even knows what love is? How do you learn what love is? And so I think there's a lot of layers that we have to contend with in our time, in these modern times of relationships. And so lack of knowledge, it doesn't have to be one of them. I wrote the book, and we got plenty of other resources out here that can really help you if you want to.
This episode of Prepare for Takeoff is brought to you in part by Riverside, the platform that I trust to record studio quality podcasts right from my laptop. With Riverside, I get crystal clear audio and 4K video. Plus, it's super easy to use. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, Riverside helps your podcast sound amazing. Try it out for yourself. Click the affiliate link in our show notes and start recording like a pro with Riverside. Information is power, and I'm glad that you're giving sisters information that I'm sure will help them. And speaking of information, I want to give you the opportunity to leave us with 3 things that you feel will help our viewers and listeners prepare for takeoff.
Okay, good stuff. I know somebody who's taking notes. They probably was like, he didn't give us that last one, that last C. All right.
Yeah, give us the last C, Brian. Then tell us the 3 things.
Yeah. So that last C was connection. And if we're going to get what we need, get what we desire, we have to be open to connection. I had one guy say he had gotten out of prison. He said, I was in prison and I had this girl and we would talk every day, and he was getting ready to get out, and he was excited about getting out. He said, I'm going to do this, that, this, and this. And she said, okay, and you know what? I'm going to help you do this, and this. She said, okay. So he gets out, and he's excited. He's happy to be free. He gets out, and he starts in on it, and then he don't talk about it anymore. And she says, well, what happened to this, and this?
Right.
And he said, well, just give me some time. Give me some time. She said, okay, I'll give you some time. Time went by, and there was still no results. And she said, you told me you was going to do something amazing, all these things you had planned. When you going to start working on it? And I said, so how did you respond to that? He said, oh, I broke up with her. He said, I broke up with her. I said, why'd you break up with her? He said, man, she was just pressuring me too much. I said, all she did was tell you what you said.
Right.
And she held you accountable. So if you want this thing to work, you have to be prepared to connect and ride the connection out. Too many people are jumping off the connection.
Mm-hmm.
they disconnecting because of this, that, and the other thing. But the true test of a relationship is your ability to go through some tough times and go through some hard knocks. And so those three, if somebody's taking notes, it's clarity, commitment, and connection is the three things. But as far as taking off, there's something that I believe totally, that everything in your life that comes in your life, the most important things in your life will happen for you when you get your mind right. Your thinking has gotten you where you are right now. In whatever the case, high, low, in the middle, whatever it is. If you're not getting the thing that you're wanting, we got to start with your thinking. In my coaching services, we start with you. Now, I know you want to talk about where the guy is or where the lady is and who's my dream come true. Yeah, well, we're going to start with you, okay? And we start with things like journaling, working on your mind. What are you thinking about? You want to take off? You gotta get present with your mind. Look, this right here is my brand new journal. I don't even have one page in here written yet. This over here is my journal that I just finished. You can see it's it's complete. Started in maybe, when did I start this? Started in April 30th, 2025. And I finished the other day. I write with the same pen every day. I even skipped some days, as you can imagine. Like, this is a big book, but I didn't hit all the days. But I've been consistent. I use the same pen every day. Right? Listen to this. This goes back to what we were saying, how the things shape us to be who we are. Right? I have emptied 6 pens from start to finish. Have you ever taken one pen from out of the pack and written with that same pen until there was no more ink in that pen? You know how many people could probably say that? Not that many.
Right.
Right? And so that is a sign to me of consistency. That means that I can do whatever I want to do. All I got to do is be consistent.
Right.
So it's all the lessons. So I don't need to be a great writer. And incidentally, that's how I got to have this, is that I started the act of writing and the process of writing. And I wasn't a writer when I started. I just needed to become the person who writes. You don't have to get mad because you haven't lost, your 50, 100 pounds, whatever it is. All you got to do is become the person who exercises, become a person who eats right, and let the process do the same process every day, and it becomes yours. So that right off the top, mindset is everything. If you want to take off, the second thing I would say, if you want to take off, is again consistency, right? Not only just writing your thoughts down. The scripture talks about write the vision and make it plain. Sometimes we don't write. We don't have any written down goals. Do you have any written down goals? Where are your goals? Are they just in your head? Sometimes we got a lot of stuff in our head, but we need to have it written down, our goals. Write the vision, make it plain. So then the scripture says other people can come and see what you have written and help you go do it. It's one of the things I love about being in Atlanta, is that if you're passionate about it and you believe in it and you going, somebody will get behind you and help you go do it.
Right.
But it'll happen wherever you're watching this, wherever anybody's watching this. So I believe in that consistency. Okay. And the third thing is your resilience to never giving up. Listen, if you're going to take off, you have to put it in your mind like those Olympic, you ask an Olympic hurdler, how are you able to show up here every day for 4 years preparing for the Olympics? Every day, rain or shine, you're out here doing your hurdles. And the answer to, if you ask them, they'll say, well, I don't have to think about what I did. I committed to the process. So I do hurdle. I do what people do who are committed to the process.
Right.
So hurdling, gotta get up out of bed. I don't have to go back and forth with it. I don't have to, no. If I want to win the gold, here's what I have to do. And they are committed to the process. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate your time. I appreciate everybody listening.
You've given us some great game, and I know that you have to have a presence on YouTube, social media. I want to give you the opportunity to share with our viewers and listeners, how can they continue to plug in with you, speaking of which, and continue to get this good game beyond the podcast?
Yes. So you guys can follow me. I'm everywhere at either Kelvin Troy Johnson or Love Coach Atlanta. I do most of my good talking on TikTok, believe it or not. I've got 141,000 followers on TikTok, and I do most of my work on Instagram, or you can follow me on Instagram at Love Coach Atlanta there as well. And if you forget all of that, just go to my website, lovecoachatlanta.com. And if you go page all the way down, you'll see the videos, you'll see the YouTube channel, you'll see all the places that you can find me, even the book, the products and services. If you want to book a one-on-one coaching session with me, I have some space in my practice right now for a couple of people. So if you know that if something I said resonated with you and you heard it and you know this was for you, reach out, let me know that you heard this on Terry's show, and I'll throw a little discount in there. I'll do something special for you. Maybe I'll send you the book for free, a free signed copy of the book if you book a session with me. But Terry, I sure appreciate you having me on your show, and you even having the presence of mind to connect with the voices that can make a difference out here. And so, man, you have no idea what happens after this. Somebody might find this show 2, 3, 4 years from now and it be exactly what they need. Blessings to you.
Man, I appreciate that, bro. And blessings to you as well, man. You out there doing the good work. You out there doing God's work, to be exact, man, because we can't get but so far alone. As the African proverb goes, if you want to get somewhere fast, go alone. If you want to get somewhere far, you need to go with others.
Yes.
So we need to tap into our ancestry, because we don't even have to go across, the ocean. We don't have to go to foreign shores. We can go right to grandmama and them. We can go right to how our parents were raised, or how our parents' were raised, and how we stood on the shoulders of our family members, stood on the shoulders of those in the community that lifted us up. And then at some point, everybody got wrapped up into this individualism of me, myself, and I, because in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, it was all about us. How can we do this? How can we do that? And people have lost sight of that. So we need to get back to the we and stay away from the me.
It's a fact. That's a fact. Absolutely correct.
Thanks for joining us and giving us so much of your time. And also, I wanted to thank our viewers and listeners, whether you're watching this on YouTube, or you're watching this on Spotify, or you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeart, or Pandora. As you know, every week we're going to continue to bring you proven professionals or rising entrepreneurs. And all of these conversations, just like this one, will help you prepare for takeoff. Kelvin, thanks for joining us, my brother.
Yes, sir. Root to the Q's.
Rudy Roo.